What I'm saying is the people who move into settlements, the people who go in Israel are the most fervent, the most committed, and now are openly wielding weapons. You guys watch the videos, wielding weapons out on the streets, policing their own neighborhoods. I mean, it's like insane vigilantism. You know, we thought the McCloskeys during the BLM demonstrations were funny or bad. This is like that times a million.
Yeah, no, the West Bank is filled with McCloskeys. It really is. Like we saw those pictures of those people in front of their houses with their stupid looking guns and their beer bellies.
Yeah.
And we're like, look at these fucking is everywhere in the West Bank. That is who the settlers are. They are people who are, number one, incredibly racist. Like it is a racist society.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When I say that, I'm not someone who's like doesn't look at my own society and go like it's no, we're not racist. America is an incredibly racist society. I know racist societies. I live in one, and these guys are incredibly racist.
And
there's a show on HBO called Our Boys.
Okay.
It was made with, I think, both Palestinians and Israelis together made it. And I think to me, it was like one of the best encapsulations of the racist society that Israelis live in, and kind of the issues that arise from living in a racist society, and the cycle of violence and murder that happens.
I think that is a really, really hard concept for a lot of people to get their minds around who don't know Israeli society.
Right. It is different.
Have never lived there and who feel very like me. Like I feel terrible saying that, a Jewish society, which it isn't, but it's a Zionist society is racist. It feels like I'm saying like Jews are racist, which by the way, can happen, obviously, and does happen. But it does feel like, well, how can that be? This is a
given
people given the history,
right?
And yet, when you see the way that Israelis, especially on the right, but even like so-called liberal Israelis talk about the Palestinian people, the air of ethnic and religious and racial superiority, and even the treatment, of course, of non-Sephardic Jews, right? Of
Sephardic Jews,
of Sephardic Jews, non-Ashkenazi Jews, of Sephardic Jews, and of Arab Israelis within Israel.
Mizrahi Jews, the way Middle Eastern Jews, Sephardic Jews, and Ashkenazi Jews, which are the European Jews, are treated in Israel, also mirrors a lot of our society here.
Yeah, sorry, I got all the terms wrong, of course. And not to mention, like whenever there are immigrants, so there are, I think, a Somali immigrants, Ethiopian immigrants who have come to Israel.
Somali Jews who had to, really had to twist arms in order to even get immigration status as Jews, even though it is purportedly a country that is open to all Jews. Well, if your Jews are African, they're going to have some problems. And, there was even, there were Jewish Black Panthers, Israeli Black Panthers that existed. And I think for the most part still do exist to some extent, that were made up of Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews who saw that they were treated differently in Israel. So like, you can't do a one-to-one comparison with Israeli racism and American racism. It's not the same society. It's not the same thing. It's going to be confusing to, I think, your regular American.
Sure.
And I don't know. So there's like a hierarchy of like the oppressed and the hierarchy of racism, right? So like the Soviet Jews are racist against Palestinians, and they're racist against Ethiopian Jews. The Ethiopian Jews are supportive of Zionism in the state of Israel and serve in, the IDF and serve in Israeli police forces and repress Palestinians, right? Then you have like the Ashkenazi and sort of the older generation of European Jews who are racist against Sephardic Jews, kind of Jews from like North African Jews, right? And they're racist against or bigoted against Soviet Jews and bigoted against Ethiopian Jews. So there's like a whole hierarchy of racism within Judaism in Israel. It's interesting in a sense, because it also explodes the idea that, you know, Jews are like one people and one you know, they must help each other all the time, and that we are, you know, our sort of interests are all aligned. So like nationalism and nationalist identity and sectarian identity is like weaponized in all these different micro ways,
Right.
even if you just zoom in onto that one little society in Israel, you know.
What we do here in Palestine, or as they call it, the land of Israel, is, you know, we've returned. We have a legitimacy because we used to be here and now we're back. But that doesn't really stand any kind of serious test either. I don't know any Jewish person anywhere that can trace their roots back to the ancient Hebrews.
I don't know any Jewish person anywhere that can trace their roots back to the ancient Hebrews.
I don't think anybody like that exists. We know Palestinians in refugee camps and elsewhere have the deeds to their land and the keys to their home. I know no one Jew in the world or Jewish family in the world that can do that. So how could we claim that we were once there when we have absolutely no way to show that? We have nothing.
Nothing.
So we're not really from.
Staying focused for Jesus.
Thanks for waking up with us.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Staying Focused for Jesus. Hope each and every one of you are having a blessed day in the Lord Jesus Christ. As always, today is December 3rd, 2022. December 3rd, 2022. We coming out swinging early. I'm going to bring the big guns, the big weapons, the big artillery out early. Just give me a second. You heard the guy speaking, which is this guy right here. We want to get a little bit of background on him so we can understand where he's coming from. Miko Peled is an Israeli-American activist, author, and karate instructor. He is author of the books The General's Son, The Journey of an Israeli in Palestine, and Injustice, the story of the Holy Land Foundation 5. He is also an international speaker. Born in Jerusalem in 1961, Peled grew up in Matzah Illit to a prominent Zionist family. When we're talking about what's currently going on in the world in regards to the so-called Middle East, which is, we know, North Africa, the Black Hebrew Israelites, or Hebrew Israelites in general, and the people that are doing most of the speaking using terms like what we say is anti-Semitic. You're dealing with Zionists. You're mostly dealing with Zionists. His grandfather, Abraham Katznelson, signed Israel's Declaration of Independence. His grandfather signed Israel's Declaration of Independence. His father, Mathahayu Peled, fought in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War and served as a general in the Six-Day War of 1967. If you are familiar with the state of Israel's history, you know these are major events. These are major events in their history the signing of their Declaration of Independence, obviously the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, and of course the Six-Day War of 1967. Then he goes and says, later, after the Israeli cabinet ignored his investigation of a 1967 alleged Israeli war crime, he became an advocate for an Israeli dialogue with the Palestine Liberation Organization. He condemned the Israeli military for seizing the West Bank, Gaza, Sinai, and the Golan Heights, calling the war a cynical campaign of territorial expansion. Pretty stand-up guy from what we have read so far. You know, his father. Like, hey, this isn't right. I'm a military man, I'm a general, and what we are doing isn't right. Palestinian activist Susan Abu Hawa had described Pilet's father, who died in 1995, as a man that many of us Palestinians could not figure out whether to love or hate, and whom many notable Palestinians nicknamed Abu Salam, which is father of peace. His brother is the political scientist Yoavan Pilet. Miko Pilet followed his father's footsteps at first, joining Israelis special forces after high school and earning the Red Beret, but he soon grew to regret his decision. He surrendered his status as soon as he earned it, becoming a medic, and finally, disgusted by the 1982 Lebanon War, he buried his service pin in the dirt. One evening in 1983, however, he skipped a Peace Now demonstration in Jerusalem to attend karate class, and on that evening a grenade attack by a right-wing extremist killed one of the demonstrators. Pilet took this as a sign, according to one interview, and consequently followed the path of karate, a practice of nonviolence that teaches one to overcome insurmountable obstacles. So he ends up setting it up and everything. I want to go down some. Thing right here. Let me see. Returning to activism, Pilet decided that the two-state solution his father had promoted would no longer suffice, and began to support for the creation of a single democratic state with equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians. Worldwide peace, right? Pilet thinks that Israel is an apartheid state that must disappear, and that a single state solution is closer than many people think because of the changing mindsets of many Israelis, American Jews, and, you see what the word is, survivors. He calls the Israeli government a radical Zionist regime. But if we simply say that we're the people, and Israel, a country where half of the population lives in what it thinks is a Western democracy, while keeping the other half imprisoned by a ruthless defense apparatus that is becoming more violent by the day. He said that the state of Israel will crumble and we will see a free democratic Palestine from the river to the sea sooner than most people think. Now we know how this applies to the Bible. Pilet has traveled in Palestine, has taught karate to children in refugee camps, and has engaged in nonviolent activism. In his blog, he calls for the removal of the Israeli West Bank barrier and the institution of equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians. As an Israeli that was raised on the Zionist idea of a Jewish state, he was raised in this, in Zionism, which is the basis of the state of Israel. It has no biblical basis, y'all. No biblical basis. This is where the argument should be made at. You can't argue against it. Well, I should say they can't argue against it because this is their history that they hold on to, and as to why they have a right to the land. This is the stuff that our people is missing. This is the stuff that people like Ron Dalton Jr. and many others, they should put in their documentaries. The stuff that they hold on to, destroy what they hold on to, destroy their foundation. So he goes on and he says, As an Israeli, right here, as an Israeli that was raised on the Zionist idea of a Jewish state, he writes in the blog, I know how hard it is for many Jews and Palestinians to let go of the dream of having a state that is exclusively our own. The articles, the stories, and the pictures in this blog are meant to make a single point. For the good of both nations, the separation wall must come down. The Israeli control over the lives of Palestinians must be defied so that a secular democracy where all Israelis and Palestinians live as equals be established in our shared homeland. Secular democracy. In 2016, Piled generated controversy after tweeting that Jews have reputation for being sleazy thieves, leading to the cancellation of his speaking engagements at Princeton and San Diego State University. I wonder if they give him a list of demands. Piled spoke at a gathering at the British Labour Party conference in Brighton in September 2017. According to the Daily Mail, Piled said, "This is about freedom of speech. About free speech, the freedom to criticize and to discuss every issue, whether it's the, you see the word, yes or no, Palestine, the liberation, the whole spectrum. There should be no limits on the discussion. It's about the limits of tolerance. We don't invite the Nazis and give them an hour to explain why they are right. We do not invite apartheid South Africa racists to explain why apartheid was good for blacks. And in the same way, we do not invite Zionists." This is a man that grew up in Zionism. And you heard what he said before at the start of the video. He said they don't have no claim. Zionists have no claim to the land in regards to physically. And he's pushing for a secular state, meaning, hey, no matter what your beliefs are, this is our homeland. According to Piled, Israel has been on a mission to destroy the Palestinian people for over 6 decades. Why would anyone not give solidarity to the Palestinian people? He said that Israel's actions in the Six-Day War of 1967 were not a response to a real threat, but acts of bald aggression. I wonder if his father put him up on game and tell him what really happened. A general. Now, either the general was lying or the general was telling the truth. Either way, I want you to get the whole story. The whole story. And also that every single Israeli city is a settlement, and that expressing solidarity with Palestinians is the most important thing people can do. On his Twitter feed, Piled has written that the IDF, Lust for Blood, has called the peace process a process of apartheid and colonization, meaning they're not really working toward peace. Keep it simple. And has accused Israeli officials of ethnic cleansing. In his blog post, he has repeatedly referred to the IDF as an Israeli terrorist organization that is part of a well-oiled ethnic cleansing machine. He has also written that Israel's education system is designed to turn Israeli children into racist. Did we just hear about that at the beginning of this video? Into racists who view Palestinians, who are more family than the people over there, if you know the history of the Palestinians, as culturally inferior, violent, and bent on the annihilation of the Jews, and void of a true national identity. The Palestinians can prove that they were there and been there for ages, more than these people that are over there. And then these Zionists are saying about them, they're teaching their children that they don't have a true national identity. Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound familiar? I told you we bring out the heavy guns today. Off the top, we ain't waiting until we get to the end. I got some more for you too. it goes on and says, and as a problem that must be solved and as a threat that must be eliminated. If they think that about the Palestinians, who would be what? Our cousins? However you want to put it? We're going to say these cousins. Then what do they think about us? Now you're starting to see the bigger picture of why it's such a problem. Remember, School of Hebrews, Pastor Omar. You know, I don't rock with him, but remember the Arabs sent him a letter stating that y'all need to rise up because we know they're not the people and we know who you are. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. And so we must bring these facts out. We must bring these deep facts out from a perspective that destroys what they're talking about. Now listen to what he says right here about his book. The General Son, Journey of an Israeli in Palestine, as an account of how he, the son of an Israeli general and a staunch Zionist, came to realize that the story which I was raised on was a lie. The book, he has said, is based largely on long conversations with his mother and on thorough reading of everything my dad had ever written and on material about his father's career in the Israeli Army archives. He took all this information, what his mother told him. He took these Israeli Army archives of what the actual government was saying, the military was saying, and what his father was saying, and he realized that what he was taught about the state of Israel and about Zionism, it was a lie. And it still is a lie to this day. Make sure y'all share this video. The video gets out to the people. The knowledge gets out to the people when you share it. We got some heavy weapons, heavy artillery we haven't even brought out yet. Theodor Herzl was an Austro-Hungarian Jewish lawyer, journalist, playwright, political activist, and writer who was the father of modern political Zionism. This is where you hit him at. We've discussed him before. We've discussed him many times. Herzl formed the Zionist organization and promoted Jewish immigration to Palestine in an effort to form a Jewish state. Although he died before Israel's establishment, he is known in Hebrew as the visionary of the state. Herzl is specifically mentioned in the Israeli Declaration of Independence and is officially referred to as the spiritual father of the Jewish state, i.e. the visionary who gave a concrete, practicable platform and framework to political Zionism. However, he was not the first Zionist theoretician or activist. Scholars, many of them religious such as UCM, promoted a range of proto-Zionist ideas before him. And all you do is just go back down through the list and you just study these people. You study them and you study what they believed. And then it will expose, because these are their leaders. These are the people that they uplift. And so if you can go in their writings and find stuff, and they're going to say it because they're not going to expect people to go read the writings of this person or that person or this person or even Theodore, then it doesn't give them a leg to stand on, because they either have to condemn these people or be exposed for what they believe. And that's how you do that. That's how you make your case even that much stronger. Not by stuff that is necessarily more speculative. Now you can speculate, but you have to give evidence to support what you're speculating. And that's why we cover some of these, in some of these videos we cover how court proceedings and stuff like that work, because this is basically a big old court. There's many things going on in this world, but it's a court. And you have the right to present your evidence in court no matter what they say. Now, this is supposed to be him. As you notice, He doesn't look like a typical white person. He doesn't look like the typical white person, does he? I'm just saying. Now, we go over here, we look at the types of Zionism. The principal common goal of Zionism was to establish a homeland for the Jewish people. Zionism was produced by various philosophers, the Bible warns you about that, representing different approaches concerning the objective and path that Zionism should follow. And these are some of them. We're not going to read all of them, but he was the political Zionism leader. Politics. We know we don't deal with that. At least, you shouldn't get sucked off into it. It goes on and says, this Zionist organization approach espoused at the first Zionist Congress aimed at establishing for the Jewish people a publicly and legally assured home in Palestine, which among other items included initial steps to obtain governmental grants from the established powers that control the area. Nathan Birnbaum, a Jew from Vienna, was the original father of political Zionism, yet ever since he defected away from his own movement. Now they put that in there, but then you have to ask yourself, why would he defect away from his own movement? Why would he do that? Then you have to study and find out why, and the basis of his beliefs and why he believed in political Zionism to come up with this whole movement that he eventually defected away from. These are the questions. This is the stuff they don't want you to bring up. We have to be wiser. The Bible says be wise as serpents, but obviously if God is in you, the Spirit of God is in you, then you're going to be wiser than serpents, because God is wiser than the serpents. You got to know what they got going on. You got to know how they're moving and why they're moving the way that they are moving. Yet ever since he defected away from his own movement, Theodor Herzl became known as the face of modern Zionism. In 1890, Birnbaum coined the term Zionism. He coined it, this dude right here. Let's see if it brings it up. This dude right here. Look what it says. A Jewish cultural autonomy phase which included the promotion of the Yiddish language. And y'all running around here talking about you speaking Hebrew when you speaking Yiddish, and these are the people that promoted it. Why aren't y'all speaking about this stuff? And y'all don't want to share the videos. Y'all a bunch of haters. I know what y'all really be thinking. Y'all come here, most of you come here, you watch the videos to get the knowledge that's gotten, and you take it back to whoever you take it back to, or use it for yourself. Show me where other so-called Hebrew Israelites are speaking about this stuff right here. How many are there? One or two out there? In 1890, Birnbaum coined the term Zionism and the phrase political Zionism 2 years later. Birnbaum published a periodical titled Self-Emancipation, which espoused the idea of a Jewish Renaissance and the resettlement of Palestine. And this idea, Birnbaum was most influenced by Leon Pinsker. Then you go back and you study Leon Pinsker. If Birnbaum is known as the original father of this political Zionism that Theodor Herzl came up with, and then Birnbaum was most influenced by Leon Pinsker, then you take it and you simply search Google to bring him up, and then you study him. And it tells you his movement was Zionism, education, law, which is the very thing they use today. They use laws. Occupation, physician, and political activist. And then you go read the books, 1880 to 1891. I'm showing y'all how it's done, y'all. Now, I'm not going to research him. I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to read these boring books and see what's up. But I just want to show you how you get this deep understanding about what's going on. And notice the area that they're all coming from. Austria was known as Hungary, the Russian Empire. Very, very interesting. Now, let me close some of these tabs out. We want to go over here to the World Zionist Organization. And it tells you that the World Zionist Organization is a non-governmental organization that promotes Zionism. It was founded as a Zionist organization at the initiative of Theodor Herzl at the First Zionist Congress, which took place in 1897 in Basel, how you pronounce it, Switzerland. The goals of the Zionist movement were set out in the Basel program. Now, I'm not going to do it. I just want to give you some background on it, but what we're going to do later is, let me see something real fast. I'm just scrolling through, see if I see anything of interest before we move forward. Like that right there. It says membership in the ZO was open to all Jews, and the right to vote for delegates to the congresses was secured by the purchase of the Zionist shekel. Delegations from all around the world and from many different political backgrounds and religious traditions took part in each Congress. Delegations parties were mainly grouped by ideology rather than by geography. Okay, if this is open to all Jews and we're claiming to be the Jews, then why we don't have a part of that? According to what they say. According to what they say, membership in the ZO was open to all Jews. We can prove it. Therefore, we have a right to this group to voice our opinion as Jews, right? Told y'all, y'all don't want to mess with us. Y'all don't want to mess with us. We bring in the real facts. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this tab up also. And we're going to have to come back to that, because this is important. It was a manifesto of the Zionist movement. It's going to tell you what they wanted. We're going to say that for another video. Now, as I stated, we're going for the knockout early. We're going for the knockout early. Let's go ahead and watch this video clip. I shared this video clip a while back in one of my videos, but this is the perfect time to bring it back around. Listen to what they have to say.
Welcome back to On Contact. We continue our conversation about the Israel lobby with Ali Abunimah and Max Blumenthal. So you were making the point before the break about how they twist the narrative in terms of the press. And I think that what we see from the documentary series is that in that they are often very effective.
Well, just picking up where I left off, I mean, I was talking about them actually buying support where they have none. And, you know, you can see the echo chamber here clearly, but there's also a really revealing scene at the conference of the IAC, which is the right wing of AIPAC, a Sheldon Adelson and Adam Milstein front, Israel-America Coalition or conference. And Kleinfeld, the undercover reporter, goes to a seminar, which is off the record, and you have Israeli officials sitting on a panel complaining about African Americans and specifically young black Americans being the biggest crisis for Israel, for the pro-Israel lobby. And this really shows, I mean, this casts the Mark Lamont Hill firing by CNN, and a really talented African American commentator who spoke at the UN and gave this rousing speech for Palestinian rights and lost his job, casts it in a new light. The Atlanta consul of the Israeli embassy says, you know, we need to basically target African Americans and destroy Black Lives Matter. And she talks about buying the support of Clarence B. Jones, who is a former lawyer to Martin Luther King, sort of a marginal figure in the civil rights movement, a paid counsel to Martin Luther King, and having him go around and say Martin Luther King would have supported Israel.
I told y'all we were going for the knockout early, didn't I? Now, why would these Israeli leaders that are lobbying for Israel to America to get this money and stuff, why would they say the biggest threat to them lobbying for Israel, pretty much saying the biggest threat to Israel and the state of Israel is African American men. Predominantly those who identify as what? As Hebrew Israelites. Now is everything else starting to make that much more sense? Is it starting to make that much more sense? Why would that be? Why in private would they be stating that? Oh, wait, but there's more. There's more. JewishVirtualLibrary.org. These are some, it says, quotes on Judaism and Israel from Theodore Herzl. Theodore Herzl, this is what he said. I told you, we going. Y'all make sure y'all share the video with whoever you need to share it with. I don't care if you're sharing it with Hebrew Israelites or whatever, and I don't even rock with the camps. I don't care. Just get the information out to the people so they can do what they need to do with it. Look what he said. I know some of you are already reading it, but look what he said. He said on in Basel, how you pronounce it? I think talking about Switzerland, just pronounced differently. I founded the Jewish state. Maybe in 5 years, certainly in 50, everyone will realize it. They asked him something on Africa, on the African question. This is his quote. There is still one other question arising out of the disaster of nations, which remains unsolved to this day, and whose profound tragedy only a Jew can comprehend. This is the African question. Just call to mind all those terrible episodes of the slave trade, so we know specifically he's talking about us. We know specifically he's talking about us. What about the real Jews over here? Because we know that. But you know what they call us, Africans and everything. He says only a Jew can comprehend and understand what these black people are going through and have went through. But why is that? Because the Jews, according to, these people right here that we're talking about on the screen, they went through the same, according to what they're saying, they went through the same stuff that we went through. Therefore, and I told y'all there's a direct connection because they pretty much still in the story. But even he addressed it. So my question is this. Why don't the people over there in the land who look up to people like Theodore Herzl, they're not going to speak against him, why don't they support us when their leader stated that only a Jew can comprehend the profound tragedy of the black people that were what? Put into slave trade, of being humans who merely because they were black were stolen like cattle, taken prisoner, captured and sold. Their children grew up in strange lands. It sounds like the same thing the Jews went through, right? We know why that is. But for argument's sake, this is what their leader said. Let's continue on. The objects of contempt and hostility because their complexions were different. Like I just showed you, I think I closed it out. Yeah, I closed it out. But like I just showed you, Theodore Herzl doesn't look like the typical quote-unquote white person, did he? I am not ashamed to say, though I may expose myself to ridicule for saying so, that once I have witnessed the redemption of the Jews, my people, I wish also to assist in the redemption of the Africans. Moment of silence. Why would he say that? Why would he say that? Why would he say that? Why was he able to make a connection with us and the people that are claiming to be Jews? I told you we're bringing out the heavy artillery early, out of his own mouth. Now, we're not going to read all this, but we're going to read enough of it. This is on the United Nations website, The Question of Palestine. History of the Question of Palestine, Origins and Evolution of the Palestine Problem, Part 1. Now, what we want to do, we want to go down here to the Balfour Declaration. A lot of you know about this, some of you don't. I've covered it, many times. It's been a while since I actually, brought it up and showed it and everything, but the information is out there. It goes on and says, these undertakings to the Zionist organization were made known in a declaration issued by the British Foreign Secretary, Sir Arthur James Balfour, whose name it has borne since. Dear Lord Rothschild, we did an interview, we showed the interview, where he spoke a lot of truth. I don't know if they took the video down or not, but yeah. I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty's government the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government viewed with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. This is the big old argument right here. They didn't abide by what they were supposed to abide by. This is the big argument. Or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. Or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. They're hypocrites, because that would include us. Let's just say they are the people. Let's say, hey, they just, they lied her. They lied her. We know we got light-skinned Jews. My wife is light-skinned. She black. But they light, right? But let's just say they Jews. We would be included in this. And yet, what do we find? We find prejudice against the civil and religious rights of us and non-Jewish communities in Palestine. And of course, what we're talking about, we find prejudice against our rights and political status of us over here in another country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours sincerely, Arthur James Balfour. Now, what's the significance of this document? This document is everything for them. This document is everything for them. The political role of the Balfour Declaration in virtually every phase of the Palestinian issue cannot be exaggerated. We're not exaggerating anything. It played such a pivotal role in everything that's went on back then and everything that's going on right now that you can't exaggerate it. The declaration, which determined the direction of subsequent developments in Palestine, was incorporated in the mandate. Its implementation brought Arab opposition and revolt. It caused unending difficulties for the mandatory. It caused unending difficulties for the mandatory in the last stages, pitting British, Jews, and Arabs against each other. It ultimately led to partition and to the problem as it exists today. This document, because they didn't abide by it. They didn't abide by it. They are oppressing those people over there, the Palestinians. Any understanding of the Palestinian issue, therefore, requires some examination of this declaration, which can be considered the root of the problem of Palestine. Which is why they say it cannot be exaggerated. This is the UN saying this. The historical background of the Jewish national home concept. The Balfour Declaration was the direct outcome of a sustained effort by the Zionist organization to establish a Jewish state in Palestine. Moved by anti-Semitism, can I say that, and pogroms in Eastern Europe, Theodor Herzl, founder of the Zionist movement, wrote in his book, The Jewish State, in 1896, the idea which I have developed in this pamphlet is a very old one. It is the restoration of the Jewish state. That the sovereignty be granted us over a portion of the globe large enough to satisfy the rightful requirements of a nation. The rest we shall manage for ourselves. Herzl mentioned Palestine and Argentina, but the following year the first Zionist Congress held in Basel declared that the goal of Zionism was to create for the Jewish people a home in Palestine, public law. Herzl wrote, "Were I to sum up the Basel Congress in a word which I shall guard against pronouncing publicly," the quote we just read, right? It would be this: at Basel, however you want to pronounce it, I founded the Jewish state. If I said this out loud today, I would be answered by universal laughter. Perhaps in 5 years, and certainly in 50, everyone will know it. He was speaking prophetically. Following rejection by the Ottoman authorities of his idea, Herzl approached the British, German, Belgian, and Italian governments in such far-flung locations as Cyprus, East Africa, and the Congo were considered, but did not materialize. We covered this before. The creation of a Jewish state in Palestine became the avowed aim of Zionism, zealously pressed by Dr. Chaim Weizmann, we covered him before, when he came to head the movement. Since Palestine was an integral part of the Ottoman Empire, the Zionist organization was cautious in declaring its aims, particularly after the Young Turk Revolution. If God is with you, then why you got to be cautious like that? God told you to, hey, go forth and strike your enemies and take what's yours. If God is with you, right? The term state was avoided, homeland being used instead. According to a Herzl associate, he said, I did my best to persuade the claimants of the Jewish state in Palestine that we might find a circumlocution, how do you pronounce that would express all we meant, but would say it in a way so as to avoid provoking the Turkish rulers of the coveted land. I suggested Heimstatt as a synonym for state. This is the history of the much commented expression. It was equivocal. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I know how to pronounce that word, but I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, so we're going to skip over it. I'm just being real. Oh, he can't pronounce the word, so that means write him off. But we all understood what it meant. To us, it signified Judenstaat then, and it signifies the same now, which translates to Jew state, state of the Jews, or the state of the Jewish people, because Jewish. In Herzl's word, no need to worry about the phraseology. The people will read it as Jewish state anyhow. Theodor Herzl, in effect, invented Zionism as a true political movement and an international force. Born to a prosperous, emancipated Budapest family, he was fluent in German and French, but lacked Hebrew, Yiddish, and Russian. He was secular, cosmopolitan, intellectual, a doctor of law, and a minor playwright. What catalyzed Herzl's conversion to Zionism was the Dreyfus affair in France. In 1894-95, Alfred Dreyfus, a French Jewish officer, was wrongfully convicted of treason and confined to Devil's Island. The trial triggered a wave of anti-Semitism in the cradle and bastion of Western European liberal democracy. This wave of French anti-Semitism was the prime motive behind Herzl authoring the Jewish state. We just saw some of the stuff that was mentioned in that book, right? Which appeared in 1896 under the subtitle of An Attempt at a Modern Solution of the Jewish Question. Just before Herzl died in 1904, he had succeeded in securing a majority in favor of settling Russian Jews in Uganda as offered by the British. The first choice wasn't Palestine, aka Israel. It was other places. Herzl refused to accept that Palestine alone must be the Zionist goal. Herzl refused to accept that Palestine alone must be the Zionist goal, and a state of armed peace was declared. As soon as he died in July, the Uganda scheme was finished, and his death effectively killed it. Let's go down here and read some of this. In 1995, Herzl, the founder of Zionism, wrote in his diary, "We must expropriate gently the private property on the state assigned to us. We shall try to spirit the penniless population across the border by procuring employment for it in the transit countries, while denying it employment in other countries. In our country. The property owners will come over to our side. Both the process of expropriation and the removal of the poor must be carried out discreetly and circumspectly. Let the owners of the immovable property believe that they are cheating us, selling us things for more than they are worth, but we are not going to sell them anything back." America and the Founding of Israel, page 49, and Righteous Victims, page 21 and 22. In 1997, Herzl outlined one of the most important goals for Zionism during the First Zionist Congress convention held in Basel, Switzerland. "We have an important task before us. We have met here to lay the foundation stone of the house that will someday shelter the Jewish people. We have to aim at securing legal international guarantees for our work." And we read that quote earlier about him, saying that, hey, people are going to laugh at me, but in 5, perhaps, certainly 50 years, everyone will know what I was talking about. Benny Morris, the Israeli historian, described how Herzl foresaw how anti-Semitism could be harnessed for the realization of Zionism. He stated, "Herzl regarded Zionism's triumph as inevitable, not only because life in Europe was ever more untenable for Jews, but also because it was in Europe's interest to rid the Jews and relieved of anti-Semitism. The European political establishment would eventually be persuaded to promote Zionism. Herzl recognized that anti-Semitism would be harnessed to his own Zionist purposes." They pretty much invented the term and turned around and used it to end up getting this land. They harnessed the term and used it for their own political agenda. Had nothing to do with what people are claiming anti-Semitism has to do with today. When they're claiming that we are being anti-Semitic, they're talking about that we're being anti-Zionism. That's really what they're saying. Let me see. Regarding anti-Semites, Theodor Herzl explained how it could benefit the Zionist enterprise. He wrote in his diary, "The anti-Semites will become our most loyal friends. The Semite nations will become our allies." That's his own words. Sources and everything. Do you see what's going on today? Excuse me. Moving in this chair, getting a little bit more comfortable. Do you see what's going on today? You see how this ties together? The future is the past coming to pass. The future is the past coming to pass. And we got that. I'm going to jump over here. Why are more Americans siding with blacks and coming against these people that are claiming to be the Jews? Americans increasingly frustrated with Israel's lobby. There was an event, this is back in May 1st, 2019, but there was different events where they were sending postcards and stuff like that, and they're tired of Israel lobbying to get money, because when they're lobbying, that's what they're lobbying for. They're lobbying for money. And Americans are getting more and more frustrated with it. You just read what Theodore Herzl said about the anti-Semites, which would include a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans, they're not claiming to be the Semitic people. We are. And so why are so many Americans now siding more with us than they are with them? Because so many Americans are struggling. All this money is being sent over there to these people, while Americans here in America struggle just to pay basic bills. And yes, that is frustrating. That's frustrating. You're gonna send all this money over here and then over there, and this economy is about to collapse simply because they quote unquote are the Jews. If they are the people, then they need to be helping over here also, right? That's what happens when you try to identify strictly with skin color, white people and black people. Them white people over there don't care nothing about y'all over here in America, white folks. They definitely don't care nothing about us. You think they care about you, but y'all waking up and seeing what's really going on. Now, 66% of American workers are worse off financially than a year ago due to inflation report finds. This is from October 19, 2022. As the cost of living keeps rising, more Americans are struggling financially. Now 2/3 of adults say they are worse off than they were just 1 year ago, according to a recent report. Nearly 1 in 3 workers, including those earning more than $100,000, run out of money before payday. This is why you follow the money. You follow the money. I ain't gonna say this is the only reason, but you should get what I'm saying. This is one of the main reasons why all these people are starting to speak out and like, man, this is ridiculous. And they're siding with black people. They may not agree with everything, but they're seeing what's going on. Like, man, this is crazy where they're getting all this money and then we over here struggling. Man, you give me $100,000, making $100,000 a year, I'm gonna make it do what it do. I'm gonna make it do what it do because I make it do what it do with what I make now, which isn't a lot of money. All this is happening that's gonna lead up to what? The New World Order. How much money does Israel get from the U.S.? President Joe Biden is facing questions from some of his Democratic Party about the amount of aid the U.S. sends to Israel. Senator Bernie Sanders has said the U.S. must take a hard look at how the money is spent. This is why. Follow the money, y'all. So what does Israel get and what is it used for? In 2020, the U.S. gave $3.8 billion in aid to Israel, part of a long-term yearly commitment made under the Obama administration. Almost all this aid was for military assistance, but they can use it for whatever they want to. Yearly commitment of $3.8 billion. How many of you here in America that are white could use some of that money? How many of you that are black here in America could use some of that money? Or just using that money to put into fixing some things in America? $3.8 billion. Do you see what's going on? Interestingly, you had the Obama administration. They got Biden in office with co-president Kamala Harris, who's married to a Jewish man. This support came as part of an agreement signed by former President Barack Obama in 2016 for an overall package of $38 billion. They told you about $3.8 billion, but what about the $38 billion in military aid over the decade 2017 to 2028? $38 billion. This represents an increase of about 6% adjusted for inflation over the spending commitment for the previous decade. How has Israel used U.S. money? Over the years, U.S. aid has helped Israel develop one of the most advanced militaries in the world. All this money that America is getting, where's most of it coming from? The people. What people specifically? The slaves. Remember what Herzl said? He said, hey, I want to help the Africans because what they're going through, the Jews understand, right? And here we are here in America. They're getting all this money off of us and then sending it to the very people that's claiming to be the people. Bible prophecy fulfilled. With the funds allowing them to purchase sophisticated military equipment from the U.S. This has nothing to do with God. In the sense of, Bible prophecy, these are the people back in their land. This is about money. This is about the love of money. And a certain beast that is a man ruling over the nations of the world and ruling over Israel and declaring himself as God in the flesh. If people are awakening up and knowing and saying that, hey, Jesus is not and was not black, and even though we don't agree with what a lot of the Hebrew Israelites are saying, they make a strong case for being the people, and many people are now coming out and saying it. They already knew, but those who didn't know, they're seeing it and they're saying it. Do you really think that Hebrews, we talking about the ones on the street corners, the ones that ain't on the street corners, all groups of Hebrew Israelites collectively, do you really think they're going to accept a white Jesus, a white Messiah when he steps on the scene? But the world will accept a black Messiah, wouldn't they? Especially the Hebrews. For example, Israel has purchased 50 F-35 combat aircraft, which can be used for missile attacks. 27 of the aircraft have so far been delivered, costing around $100 million each. Then we go over here. Senate committee approves $38 billion Israeli defense package. All that money isn't going to the defense package. Let's just be real. And you can go on and on and on. So many articles about it. This is an article from 9/12/2022. And it says majority of Americans don't trust the government. Majority of Americans don't trust government. We're not going to read all of it, but I just want you to see. I just want you to see what's going on. We got to bring all the pieces together. This is an article from the Pew Research Center, June 6, 2022. Public trust in government, 1958 to 2022. Public trust in government remains low, as it has for much of the 21st century. Only 2 in 10 Americans say they trust the government in Washington to do what is right. Just about always 2%, or most of the time 19%. Trust in the government has declined somewhat since last year, when 24% said they could trust the government at least most of the time. When people don't trust in the government, what does that lead to? Civil upheaval, civil unrest, civil wars, all these different things. And when you start messing with people's money and they don't trust the government, what does that lead to? A collapse in society. They want to change. And what's the best way to get a change? Ride the backs of blacks. The alphabet community did it. And so many others, they do it. They ride the backs of blacks until they get the change that they want, and we end up getting left out. History continually shows that. Now, you go over here and you go on the Twitter of American Jewish Committee, the AJC. They posted this November 21st. And it says, Black Hebrew Israelites chanting, "We are the real Jews," is a troubling anti-Semitic trope with dangerous potential. We cannot allow this supremacist ideology to spread and gain greater acceptance. If they can't allow it to spread, then what are they going to do to stop it? Why is it dangerous? Why is it a dangerous potential? Why does it have to be a supremacist ideology? Why just can't be that, hey, we are the real Jews? They're the ones that come up with these terms and people believe it. Aren't the Jews over there, don't they claim themselves to be superior? What superior in regards to, hey, we're gonna lead the nations and everything, so you need to give us all this money because we have superior ideology. It's okay for them to say it, but if we claim to be superior, then it's a problem. Even if we did say it, it's a problem. The hypocrisy. Now, I'm not going to scroll through and show you everything on their Twitter page. You can do it for yourself. But I want to show you something. Now, Black Hebrew Israelites, right? It's a problem. But if you go up, we're going to look at that also. But if you go up, look at this. Let me see. Where is it at? November 22nd, the very next day. Today, Ethiopian Jews in Israel, if we do it their way, it's okay. And around the world celebrate, however you pronounce the word, a holiday symbolizing the acceptance of the Torah and the return to Jerusalem. Oh, what's that? That's black folks. So the Ethiopian Jews, they can say that they are Jews. They're still black. Ain't nothing about no Ethiopian. Ethiopia is a place. A person can be white and say, I'm Ethiopian. Just like you have people in America that are black, that are white, that are Chinese, Japanese, but they're still considered American. African American, Chinese American. I was in Africa and now I'm in America. I was in China, now I'm in America. I was in Ethiopia, now I'm in Israel. But I just, they just try to cause confusion. Look at the hypocrisy. These folks is black. These folks is black. And they can claim and be accepted over there because they accept Torah. We accept Torah too. We believe in the Torah. They claim to be Jews. And we claim to be Jews. But because we say that we are the real Jews and they're not, it's a problem. The hypocrisy. Straight up hypocrisy. Now, we jump over here, we look at the word supremacist. It says by 1948, which is an interesting time because of what was going on in 1948, the establishment of the State of Israel. It says originally with reference to racial beliefs and in most cases with white. That's not something that we made up. That's something that y'all made up. That's something that y'all made up, not us. Which is why they use stuff like that to try to scare you. We cannot allow this supremacist ideology, yet they're walking in a supremacist ideology. That the Jews, who they claim to be of the Jews, are above all nations. I don't have no problem with the supremacist ideology as long as it's biblical. I don't have a problem saying that I'm superior and supreme to a man that's walking around here like he's a woman. Yeah, if that's the case, I got a big supremacist ideology. Cause you're not finna sit here and tell me that a man that's dressed as a woman, acting like a woman, is equal to me. Flag the video, do whatever you're gonna do. My channel gonna get shut down eventually. Most likely. So if that's the case, then I'm gonna speak the truth while I have the opportunity to. And let God handle the rest. You go to the word supremacy, what does it mean? It tells you from the word supreme. You go to the word supreme. highest, situated above, upper, or over. Meaning, what is our ideology? What is the true ideology of being a Hebrew Israelite? It has to do with righteousness. Therefore, from a biblical perspective and understanding, if we are teaching supremacist ideology, it has nothing to do with skin color. Skin color is a part of it because everybody knows that black skin is superior to white skin. Everybody knows that. It's nothing to do with racism. That's facts. That's facts. That's DNA. You got a problem with it, take it up with God. What is sunscreen? Sunscreen is melanin based. We can go down and look at the food and everything. Now, you can be white and you can get mad at that all you want to, but come on now. Grow up. Grow up. Just because I say that black skin is superior doesn't mean that, oh, see. Guess what? You got black people going to hell and you got white people going to hell. These are things that a pastor isn't allegedly supposed to say because it's racist. That's nothing to do with anything. It has a lot to do with everything. The uncomfortable conversations that people don't want to have, so we can get to the root of the problem, which is sin, regardless if a person has supreme black skin or recessive white skin. My children are light-skinned. That's recessive in comparison to how dark I am, because their mother is light. I'm real about that. My children look what? They look mixed. Why? Because their mother is on the lighter side. Let's just be real. I'm not the darkest Negro. I'm real about that. I'm not the darkest Negro. Put a black person with black skin, of course, and a white person with what we call white skin in Africa, and tell me naturally. I ain't talking about using chemicals and all this stuff. I'm talking naturally. America is built off of being supreme, the supreme nation. Y'all support sports and all this other stuff. Sports is about what? It's about being the best, being the supreme, being the top, being the above, being the highest in what you do. But when it comes to stuff like this, oh no, that's racist. From a biblical standpoint, we're talking about supreme ideology, supreme nation of people. We're talking about being the head and not the tail, being the leaders that are making the decisions under the headship of Christ for the other nations and guiding the other nations in ways of righteousness, which is what God himself said we were supposed to do and be, a light to other nations, a supreme nation, a peculiar nation, a royal nation. So what are y'all talking about? Get yourself together. Now, they say not the real Jews is hate speech, a phrase claiming that today's Jews are not the chosen people referenced in the Bible. While this phrase has been used by many throughout history, this ain't nothing new. But they're trying to make it seem like it's something new to y'all. Today, it is most commonly used by black supremacists claiming black people, not Jews, are the chosen people of God. No, black people are claiming that we the Jews. Put black Jews there. It should read, it is most commonly used by black supremacists claiming black Jews, not the so-called Jews, are the true chosen people of God. But that's black supremacy. Yet if they claim to be the Jews, it's not supremacy. It's not white supremacy. Because they're white, right? Oh, okay. Black supremacy has roots in black chosenness. Well, That would mean that white supremacy has roots in white chosenness. The belief that African Americans are the descendants of the 12 Hebrew tribes of Israel who settled across Africa after the destruction of the kingdom of Israel and were eventually sold into slavery during the Atlantic slave trade. That's Bible. If that's the case, then white supremacy has roots in white chosenness, the belief that Ashkenazi Jews or Ashkenazi Europeans are the descendants of the 12 Hebrew tribes, and they don't even claim to be the descendants of the Hebrew tribes of Israel. Not for real, for real. Black supremacy, has nothing to do with black supremacy in the way they're teaching it, argues that black people are superior to all other races and that white Jews are imposters. We're supposed to be superior than all other races in regards to righteousness. You have to be if you're going to teach other nations. Elements of black supremacy can be found within the Black Hebrew Israelite movement as well as within the Nation of Islam under the leadership of Louis Farrakhan and his supporters. In the ages of social media, some black supremacists have co-opted the language of white supremacists when discussing Jews, calling them termites and bugs with subhuman features. I told y'all, they don't even include white people, regular white people in there. They don't include that even though they're the same color. They don't look at y'all the same. They don't look at y'all the same. Some anti-Semites on both the right and left claim that Ashkenazi Jews are fake Jews and that Israel is a fake nation. That's according to your own people. You need to go back and read what the UN has to say and what your own people have to say. This accusation has been used historically and continues to be used by those who believe in the Khazar conspiracy theory dispelling the Jewish connection to Israel. It's not a conspiracy theory in the way that they teach it. It's historical fact. They need to be fact-checked. Dumbasses. They probably flagged this video. Like I care. Ask me, do I care? Let's go over to the Bible. You shall make no idols nor graven image, nor rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your land to bow down to it, for I am the Lord your God. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary, I am the Lord. If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. And your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time, and ye shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land safely. You shall dwell in the land what? Safely. Well, y'all got the Iron Dome. And I will give peace in the land. And I will give peace in the land if you are obedient. You're not supposed to be there in the first place if you are the people. And you shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid, and I will rid evil beasts out of the land. Wouldn't that be the Palestinians in their own words? Neither shall the sword go through your land. There will be no fighting. And ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. Don't seem like that's happening. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. For I have respect unto you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. That's God's word, not Kelson King. I didn't write the Bible up out of thin air and say, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to do some black supremacist stuff because I hate white people. I didn't say that. Neither did God. And if he does hate white people, that's his choice because he's God. He hate who he wants to. And it'd be righteous. Whether they are black or white. So he said he's going to walk among us and will be our God and we shall be his people. But if you will not hearken unto me and will not do all these commandments, if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning og that shall consume the eyes, and cause sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you. Are the Iranians and the Palestinians reigning over them? Nope. And ye shall flee when none pursueth you. They're not fleeing when nobody's pursuing them. They're fighting. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will break the pride of your power. And I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. And your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield their fruit. If ye walk contrary unto me, and would not hearken unto me, I will bring 7 times more plagues upon you according to your sins. It's getting worse and worse, right? I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. And if ye will not be reformed by me by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, then will I also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins. And I will bring a sword upon you, that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send the pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. Delivered into the hand of the enemy. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall break your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied. And if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury, and I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sins. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat. And I will destroy your high places, and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols, and my soul shall abhor you. Abhor is worse than hate. And I will make your cities waste, and bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathen. How do they get back in the land in disobedience? If they're in the land, and they're being disobedient, with it, which they are, the alphabet parade and everything that goes on over there, then there's coming a point in time when they're going to be scattered among the heathen. That means they're going to be scattered amongst us. Because y'all say that we the heathens, right? And I will draw a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. That doesn't line up with Bible prophecy if that's the people, though. Because y'all, the Messiah coming. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbaths. If them people want to, so-called Jews here in America, all they got to do is get on the plane and go back over there. They choose not to because they make a lot of money over here and they have established communities over here. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbaths when ye dwelt upon it. And upon them that are left alive of you I will send a faintness into their hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of a shaking leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee as fleeing from a sword, and they shall fall when none pursueth. And they shall fall one upon another, as it were before a sword when none pursueth, and ye shall have no power to stand before your enemies. You shall have no power. That means that the most powerful nation in the world right now would not help you. But the most powerful nation in the world right now is helping them and making them more and more powerful. I told y'all we do this, didn't I? And ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' lands, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. What happened with Hitler? There was an agreement made, and they sent them over there to the land. That's not what the Bible is saying would happen. If they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their trespass which they trespass against me, and that also they have walked contrary unto me, and that I also have walked contrary to them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies, if then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled. Those folks aren't humble. How you humble when you just saw they're some of the most racist people in the world for no reason? And they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity. They didn't accept. They have not accepted what Hitler done to them, has done to them, did they? Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. Spaghetti-o, that tells you these people don't believe the Torah. They believe the Talmud and all these other books. The land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths, while she lieth desolate without them, and they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity. Because they despise my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. And yet for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them, for I am the Lord their God. But I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen, that I might be their God. I am the Lord. When did they repent? When did they repent? The Havara Agreement, the commemorative coin of the Havara Transfer Agreement of 1933 between the Zionists and the Third Reich. Why they don't tell you about this? Why they don't tell you about this? The Havara Agreement was an agreement between Nazi Germany and Zionists, Zionist German Jews, signed on 25th of August 1933. The agreement was finalized after 3 months of talks by the Zionist Federation of Germany, the Anglo-Palestine Bank under the directive of the Jewish Agency, and the economic authorities of Nazi Germany. The agreement was designed to help facilitate the immigration of German Jews to Palestine. While to help Jews immigrate, it forced them to temporarily give up possessions to Germany before departing. Those possessions could later be reobtained by transferring them to Palestine as German export goods. Follow the money. This is the actual coin. Promotional coin issued by the Nationalist German newspaper. The coin was struck in 1934 to memorialize the journey of Baron von Mittelstein, a Nazi party member, to Palestine. Very, very interesting, huh? The trip resulted in a pro-Zionist report encouraging Jewish immigration to Palestine and elsewhere, published in the paper. It is embossed with the text, "A Nazi Goes to Palestine," which is also the title of a book published by the Nazi Party in 1934. Very, very interesting, huh? If you know the truth about Hitler. They try to make it seem like Hitler was against them. We're going to put it like that. But they don't want you to know all this, do they? I wonder why. Now, we go down here and it says the Havara, the transfer agreement negotiated by Eliezer Hoofen, director of the Anglo-Palestine Bank, was agreed to by the Reich Economics Ministry in 1933 and continued with declining German government support until it was wound up in 1939. Under the agreement, Jews immigrating from Germany could use their assets to purchase German manufactured goods for export, thus salvaging their personal assets during immigration. The agreement provided a substantial export market for German factories in British rural Palestine. Between November 1933 and December 31st, 1937, you see the number, or 22,500 million, which is the values in 1938 currency, worth of goods were exported to Jewish businesses in Palestine under the program. This is how they got rich so fast. Yet the Bible says that they would be the tail, not the head. They would be the borrower and not the lender. Why are these numbers important? I'm going to show you in a second. By the time the program ended with the start of World War II, the total had risen to $35 million. Immigrants with capital of about $5,000 in 1930s currency value could move to Palestine in spite of several severe British restrictions on Jewish immigration under an immigrant investor program similar to the modern EB-5 visa. So the EB-5 visa is based on this program right here. Under the transfer agreement, about 39% of an immigrant's funds were given to Jewish communal economic development projects, leaving individuals with about 43% of the funds. You want to come on over here, it's going to cost you. They don't tell you all that though, do they? They weren't just coming over there. They had to make an investment to come over there. They had to make an investment into the bank to be able to come over there, and then those funds were used to open up businesses and lobby and stuff like that. Throw money around where they need to throw it around. Now, why are these numbers important? Watch this. This is gonna blow your mind. The value of $35 million from 1935 to 2022. $35 million in 1935 is equivalent in purchasing power to about, I don't even know the number. You see the increase over 87 years. The dollar had an average inflation rate of 3.60% per year between 1935 and today, producing a cumulative price increase of 2,075.27%. Now, just to tie our previous point together, we want to come over here. Immigration investor programs are programs that allow individuals to more quickly obtain residence or citizenship of a country in return for making qualifying investments. Follow the money. Follow the money. Why would I have to do that if I'm coming over there? Because this is my land, these are my people. This is our land, this is where we belong. I shouldn't have to do something like this, right? Broadly, the programs offer either citizenship by investment, golden passport, or cash for passports, follow the money, residence by investment, golden visa, or a hybrid with immediate residence followed by accelerated citizenship, follow the money. Program applicants must usually fulfill multiple qualification criteria. Investment can take a variety of forms, including a contribution to government funds, purchase of qualifying real estate, specific government sanctioned projects, we just read, right? Investment in a qualifying business, a specific industry, or creation of a set number of jobs. This is how they were able to build so fast. That's why when you go watch these old videos and they building up so fast, they had the money to do it. They had the money to do it. EB-5 visa. The United States EB-5 visa, employment-based fifth preference category, or EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa Program, created in 1990 by the Immigration Act of 1990, provides a method of eligible immigrant investors. Immigrants. Why am I immigrating to my own land? And why am I doing it this way? To become what? Lawful permanent residents, and formerly known as green card holders. This is what they are. They aliens. Like they talk about the Mexicans coming from Mexico over here, and they aliens, illegal aliens. That's what they are, according to their own writings and documents and what they did. By investing substantial capital to finance a business in the United States that will employ at least 10 American workers. What they did ended up leading to this right here. How many Hebrew Israelites are there, and how worried should Jews be? This is an article that premiered in the Times of Israel. Y'all thought I was done going in, didn't you? I'll be done after this. Let me make sure. Let me see. Yeah, I'll be done after this. Recent militant posturing of Israelites in Christ, followers of the Hebrew Israelite spiritual movement, has alarmed many already on edge from recent attacks and a rise in anti-Semitism. This was posted November 26, 2022. The Times of Israel. Got the brothers up there. Dressed in matching purple hoodies and shirts with gold fringes attached to the bottom in observance of Deuteronomy 22:12, hundreds of members of a controversial Hebrew Israelite group marched through the streets of Brooklyn on Sunday. And where are a lot of the so-called Jews at? New York. Hey Jacob, it's time to wake up, they chanted, using a term for people of color who have yet to embrace their true identity as descendants of the biblical Jacob, later called Israel. We got good news for you. You are the real Jews. The march and a demonstration that followed at the Barclays Center were organized by Israel United in Christ in solidarity with Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving. We have that right to do that. We have the right to do that here in America. Unless we don't. Who was suspended for 8 games after he posted a link to a so-called anti-Semitic film on social media last month, and then he was slow to apologize. But IUIC has also used the controversy to promote its incendiary ideology and recruit new followers into what it calls God's army. Yeah, you're right. It is incendiary. It is on fire. It is fire. It's going to burn some stuff up. After the demonstration, the second held by IUIC outside the Brooklyn Arena this month, the group's founder posted a message on his Twitter account. We are not here for violence, Bishop Nathaniel Ben Israel wrote. We are here for the spiritual war. Before 2019, those American Jews who were even aware of the once obscure Black Hebrew Israelite spiritual movement, that's because it was suppressed. There's nothing new under the sun. It's been talked about. We've looked at the historical records. We looked at the historical data. We looked at history as a whole, and we see that it's been talked about, and it was more so talked about amongst white people than it was amongst us. Article goes on and says likely associated it with the loud but non-violent street preachers who would how you pronounce that word, haranju pedestrians in city centers. Never saw that word in my life, so I don't know how to pronounce it. Just being real. In December of that year, however, extremists professing Israelite beliefs attacked a kosher grocery store in Jersey City, and that's been proven they had nothing to do with Hebrew Israelite movement for real. They were, I'm not going to go into all that, but y'all can go study it out if you really want to. 2 Jews were killed in Jersey City, and a 72-year-old rabbi was stabbed in the head, and Monsi died from his injuries 3 months later. And so they're trying to say, okay, that's y'all fault. And now, you know what I'm saying, they're becoming more militant, and they coming for us. If y'all got God on your side, then what are you afraid of? You got all this money and you still afraid? You got all this money and you got God on your side, but you afraid of some guys in purple, some black guys in purple. I wonder why. You should be afraid. With the memory of those attacks still fresh and against the backdrop of a surge this fall in public expression of anti-Semitism combined with threats of violence against Jewish communities emanating from other extremist corners, even the white supremacists speak against y'all. The militant posturing of IUIC has alarmed many Jews already on edge. Oh my God, it's big black men dressed in purple. They're coming for us. Oh my God, we're going to die, even though we have God on our side. You're right, you're going to die anyway. You're going to die for the cause and stop being cowards. The so-called Rabbi Mordecai of Crown Heights observed on Twitter that the Israelites who regularly preach near his home on Shabbat have been particularly aggressive of late. Y'all been aggressive forever. America's been aggressive since its inception, but you still continue to take money from America and support America to a certain extent, as long as it benefits you, huh? Heaping verbal abuse on both him and his children. Y'all been doing it for years. Now it's going back around. You got a problem with Y'all live by the Torah, right? Eye for an eye, so a verbal assault for a verbal assault. On Sunday afternoon, Lightstone posted a video of IUIC members assembling for their march and rehearsing their chants in Grand Army Plaza. Terrifying, commented this person. Yeah, you're right, it's terrifying to y'all, ain't it? A black and Jewish fashion designer who blames Hebrew Israelites for inflaming tensions between the two communities to which she belongs. Sell out, sell out, sell out. A few Twitter users compared the march to the 2019 far-right rally in Charlestonville, at which participants chanted, "Jews will not replace us." Do you see what's going on? White folks tired of these folks. They tired of them. They coming in and taking over everything, ain't they? The recent IUIC rallies give the impression that the radical wing of the Hebrew Israelite movement is large and riled up. Meanwhile, recent comments by Kanye West, the rapper who now goes by Ye, and Irving that align with elements of Hebrew Israelite doctrine suggest the movement has broad support among powerful black celebrities. We really don't care. I mean, if they want to claim it, then they can claim it, but overall, these brothers in purple, the camps, they don't care. They still gonna say what they say. I'm just being real. I know I don't care. I'm gonna speak it regardless. But how big is the movement in reality? What percentage are extremists who will sell Jews as imposters who stole their heritage from them? Now I believe that, but I ain't finna go out and and hurt these people. I got more stuff to worry about than them. And if black Israelism has entered the marketplace of mainstream religions in the United States, should Jews be concerned? If they want to start a religion that was black Israelism, then guess what? They have the right to do that in America. Unless they don't. The only available statistics on Israelite identification in the United States were collected as part of a small national survey conducted by an evangelical Christian research firm in 2019. Some of you may remember I did a video where I showed all that. For that survey, which sought to capture African American attitudes toward the state of Israel, why do you need to know all that? You already know why. Lifeway Research asks 1,019 African Americans which of the following best describes your opinion of black Hebrew Israelite teachings. Most respondents, 62%, said they are not familiar with the teachings. So guess who's bringing it more to light? Y'all are, you dummies. But I appreciate that because you're helping to fulfill the Word of God. Most respondents of the 1,019 African Americans said they're not even familiar with the teachings of the Hebrew Israelites. They are now. They are now. Do y'all see what's going on? But 19% said they agree with most of the core ideas taught by black Hebrew Israelites. And 4% said they consider themselves Hebrew Israelites. The remaining 15% said they either firmly oppose teachings or disagree with most of them. The survey did not specify what those teachings are. And then we look at this picture. It says members of the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem hold up canes as they dance during festivities marking the holiday of Shavuot in the southern Israeli town of Dimona. They're in Jerusalem having this celebration, and they claim to be Hebrew Israelites. That talks about this 2020 U.S. Census, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to calculate how many Hebrew Israelites in the U.S. there are, just on black people alone, and not counting a small number of Latinos and Native Americans who also belong to Israelite groups. This 1.6 million, I don't know where they get this number from. I'm pretty sure it's larger than that, because you have a lot of people that didn't take part of this census to get these numbers. For lots of these people, the attention that West and Irving have brought to their belief system has been validating. That's a true statement for some people, but those of us who truly believe the Bible, no, we already knew it. And we will continue to stand by it, regardless if West or Irving or anybody else comes out and says it. Israelism is becoming part of the plausibility structure of Black America. Christian activist and author Vocab Malone told the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, some of you familiar with him, we're not even going to get on him, referring to a social context in which certain ideas are considered credible. It's nothing to do with social context, it has to do with the Bible, the very Bible you say you believe. And I think Vocab Malone, there's a video out there with him pretty much saying that the people over there, they can't be the people. The suspicion that a lot of folks have toward the Jewish community, they think they're vindicated now. This dude supplied the question about Hebrew Israelite teachings, asked if there are plans to include similar questions in future surveys. He replied, I know there are some pastors at African American churches that have concerns about some of their parishioners being led astray by the teachings of the Hebrew Israelites, so we'll keep it on our radar. And some of the teachings, they do lead people astray. But a lot of the so-called pastors in the African American churches, they have led more people astray than Hebrew Israelites, in the sense of today's Hebrew Israelites. Because the pastors that had influence, the pastors of today of these African American churches, they knew this stuff, and they know this stuff, but they were not speaking on it. They were not telling the people and everything. Just continue to take tithes, offerings, and don't worry about nothing else. When if they were smart, they would have got ahead of it, and that would have gave them a bigger platform, because a lot of Hebrew Israelites, they would have came to these black pastors and said, hey, we know you've been teaching this for years and years and years and years. We respect you for what you do. Now the opposite is happening. A lot of the parishioners, as they said, they're going away from the pastors of the African American churches and going into the Hebrew Israelites. So I blame the African American churches and the black pastors of these African American churches more than I do the brothers that are teaching from the Hebrew Israelite camps. Malone, who uses an alias in keeping with hip-hop culture, is a close observer of the Israelite world because he wants to be one of us. And if I'm not mistaken, I would say he's more Arab than anything. The Phoenix resident frequently engages in debates on the street and online with members of groups described as hateful by the Southern Poverty Law Center, We Really Don't Care, including IUIC, Israel School of Universal Practical Knowledge, Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. And the reason they do this is because he's an agent. Get on there. We need to get on there and debate them, even if you have to pay them, so we can get insight into what they actually believe. They take those teachings, they break it down, and they come up with their game plan of how they want to attack us. And it goes on and says, in the Sakari, in hopes of convincing them to follow what he considers to be the true path of Christianity, when he doesn't even have the true path of Christianity. Founded in 2003, IUIC has proven the most adept at creating public spectacles and garnering media coverage. The group operates 71 U.S. chapters and 20 international ones, according to the Anti-Defamation League, and it holds men's conferences each year that culminate in choreographed marches on city streets, like the one on Sunday in Brooklyn. There's no law against that. Based on the size of those marches, Malone estimated that national membership has grown from around 5,000 in 2015 to around 10,000 today. Other radical groups likely have much smaller memberships, but don't share any figures, preferring to play their cards close to their chest, Malone said. These estimates suggest that the extremists comprise a very small percentage of the 1.6 Hebrew Israelites living in the United States. Ultimately, IUIC has a goal of recruiting 144,000 Black, Latino, Native American people who will be spared by God during the end time, as foretold in the book of Revelation. In order to achieve this goal, the group sends representatives to proselyte overseas, including in parts of Africa and the Caribbean. IUIC did not respond to requests for comment from JTA. We go down here and we get ready to close it out. What is clear is that the camps have greatly expanded their reach in recent years, taking their message from street corners to the entire globe thanks to the internet and social media. There's no law against that. IUIC members run dozens of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts where they post a constant stream of videos and memes, many containing anti-Semitic tropes. One recent Instagram post shows a startled-looking Hasidic Jewish man holding his hat above the words, "The synagogue of Satan." Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, uses similar language about Jews. A video he recorded this month defended Weston Irving has been viewed 1 million times. What does all this tell you? It tells you that they are watching. And I've mentioned this, many others have mentioned this. They're watching us. They watch our videos. And they see what's going on. That's how they know. If you actually do the research on it, they separate black Hebrew Israelites from other Hebrew Israelites. They'll say these are the main, extreme camps, but you have other ones that identify as Hebrew Israelites that don't pretty much rock with the camps. The only way they would know that is if they're doing their due diligence. I have no problem with them doing their due diligence. They're probably watching this video now. I want to live somewhere. Really don't care. We should be doing our due diligence on them also. This is a spiritual war. This is a spiritual war. And this isn't going anywhere. It's only going to grow to the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled, which is coming very, very soon, coming to a close. And then we know the Antichrist is going to step on the scene, and most people are going to gravitate to him. And most of your camps are going to do that also. I want to paint and show you this broad picture about what's really going on. All this we know is leading up to the revelation of the Lord Jesus Christ, but most of it is leading up to the time of Jacob's trouble. I'm interested to see what's going to happen next that's going to cause a number of Israelites to awaken to their physical identity. Awakening to your physical identity is not the same as awakening to your spiritual identity. Just because you know you're a Hebrew Israelite doesn't guarantee you a spot in the pearly gates of heaven. But I'm very, very interested to see what happens next that's going to cause the numbers to grow, ultimately lead to what I preach and I prophesy, a false exodus. Very, very interested. But just want to drop this on y'all, show y'all what's really going on. Hopefully I gave you some heavy duty artillery, some heavy duty ammo that you can use for yourself, that you can pass on to the camps. Like I said, I don't support the camps. I'm gonna do my thing over here, what God's called me to do. And there are camps I speak against. It is what it is. I have that right to do that. And if you disagree with me having the right to do that, then go make your own videos exposing me. I really don't care. But if you want to use this information and give it to them, or you want to watch the video and take the information and give it to them, by all means do it. You see, you're not going to hear most people say that. It doesn't bother me because I know who I truly serve. And many would say that. And they have the right to say that. But at the end of the day, we're going to find out, right? It's as simple as that. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you. In Jesus Christ's name, as always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared.